everyone. So one of the questions I start to get asked a lot around this time is, when are you starting your seeds, whether it's a specific variety or more in general? So today I'm gonna go over my specific seed calendar. So I've gone ahead and filled out the Google sheet of all of the seeds that I have, the start dates. I made a video showing how to use this, so I'll link that video down below. I'll also link the view-only version, which is completely free, and you can download or save a copy of that for yourself and add all your seeds together in there. But I figured I'd kind of give you a preview of when I'm starting all of my seeds for this year. Now, obviously, as I go through and start them, I will do that along with you here. However, the videos on YouTube tend to be a few days behind like actual live when I'm doing things. So if you want to make sure you're seeing things live as I'm doing them, that's more on Instagram. So Instagram, I'll post on stories when I'm actually doing these tasks, and then you'll see the video a few days after that. Now, I feel like compared to a lot of people, I start later, and I am totally fine with that because I like to have, again, my kind of downtime in the winter, but also my goal when I start my seeds, I use the little peat pellets, so I don't want to have to pot them up if I can avoid it. So I want to start my seeds indoors at a time where they will grow and get a head start, but they won't grow so much that I have to pot them up. Now, some I will, but my goal is that most of them I don't, because I like to do as little work as possible to get the same results in the garden. And what I will also do today is go over what I choose to start from seed and what I don't, and the requirements for each. Again, this is all very personal to me, but if any of you kind of want to follow as a general guideline along with me, I think that'd be great, especially starting off, kind of figuring out the schedule can be a little bit overwhelming. So I'm pulling up right now the 2024 seed starting schedule spreadsheet that I filled out for myself. I will put in screenshots here so you can see what it is that I'm looking at. So one of the reasons I like using a spreadsheet is because I can sort by different fields, and I sort a lot. I would say for the most part, the spreadsheet usually stays sorted by like plant type so that I have all of them grouped together. But when I start getting around this time of the season, I'll start to sort by seed starting date. That way I keep an eye on what's coming up. And then also, I'm sure there's a way to like link sheets and your calendar together, but then I'll also put reminders in my calendar when a certain type of flower needs to be started. So that way I can be notified in my calendar, I can go to this spreadsheet and see a list of all of the seeds that I have. So my first rounds of seeds that I'm gonna be starting, both indoors and outdoors, aren't gonna happen until the first week of March. So for the seeds that I'm starting inside, the first batch that I'm gonna do are my Gomphrena seeds. And that's because I have found from the past few years that they take a little bit longer to germinate and they're much slower growing starting off. In the past, I've started them, I think 8 weeks before our last frost date. This year, I'm gonna try 10 weeks and I'm gonna see how it does. That way I'm hoping when I get them out into the garden, there's a little bit more size on them. And I'm also hoping that by 10 weeks, they won't be so large, I'll have to pot them up. So this is my first time adding an additional 2 weeks to them being inside. So we'll see how that goes. But for me, that brings my start date to March 6th. Now, even though I will put in like a specific date that's calculated here based on my last frost, there's some wiggle room. It's not like I have to start on March 6th. So if there's a better day that week that works for starting this group of seeds, I will do that. But I have more Gomphrena than I've ever grown before. I don't know where I'm gonna fit it all, but I will make it fit. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 types of Gomphrena because I love it so much. So that's probably gonna take up 2 of my seed starting trays. And that's gonna be the only group that I start inside kind of at the beginning of March. Now I'm also going to direct sow some of my cool weather vegetables outside. For that, I don't actually put that in the spreadsheet. That I use the From Seed to Spoon app. Again, not sponsored. I have been using this since 2019. And for me, so the app doesn't have flowers on it, which is why I don't use it for flowers. But for me, I like having the reminders all in one place on my phone. So I have radishes, I have peas. I don't know if I'm gonna try beets again this year. I have some lettuce. And the app recommends starting that like the end of February, early March. I think I'm gonna go early March just based on past experiences. I haven't had great luck the last few springs because it seems like it's been cold and wet for a long time. So the temperatures were lower than what these cool season crops would like to grow. And then it jumps to temperatures that are hotter than they would like to grow in. We'll see how this spring does. I'm not giving up on my cool season vegetables for spring yet, but those I like to direct sow. Now you can start them inside if you want, but if they're gonna grow out there and I can just toss them out there instead of use any of my seed starting trays, I would much rather do that. So for both indoors and outdoors, I'm really not starting anything until the first week of March. But I mean, we're already in the first week of February, so that is gonna come up pretty quickly here. My next grouping then is of flowers that are gonna start indoors 8 weeks before last frost. So for those are my asters. I have some hollyhock. Oh, you know what? I put poppies in here, but I just got a thing of poppies that I already direct sowed outside because I just tossed them out there. So those are sitting out there because I know a lot of people kind of toss them out in the soil in January. We'll see how that does. I also have my cosmos that are going to be starting 8 weeks early. So 8 weeks early takes us to around the 20th of March. So again, that'll be like the 3rd week of March will be my next round of seeds. Then after that, I have my 6 and 4 weeks. Sometimes I just do everything at 6 weeks. Again, it kind of depends how I feel or how many varieties I have in each set. But that takes me to like early April to mid-April. I'm probably gonna do them all 6 weeks early if I'm honest with myself. I like to batch things together. That's gonna include my status. That's gonna include my long list here of zinnias that I have. And my zinnias are one of them that like is always kind of on the edge of potentially needing to be potted up. So that's why I kind of err. Maybe I'll do like 5 weeks beforehand because I know that one grows a lot faster than some of my other flower varieties. And then also on my list are some varieties that I'm going to direct sow outside after last frost. So those are getting sown 0 weeks or 0 days before last frost. So those will go outside. Again, right now I have the tentative date of May 15th, but I mean, the groundhog says spring's gonna be warmer and my bulbs are all coming up. You never know with Chicago weather, but if it seems like we are in the clear for the last frost date earlier, then I'll go ahead and direct sow them maybe earlier in May. I don't think I will chance it in April because we still get even snow in April fairly regularly here, but I might do it a little bit earlier in May. So again, a lot of these are areas for wiggle room, but I like to have a general guideline of when I'm gonna start. So then, like I said, I'll take like this March 6th date. Let's go to my calendar. And March 6th is a Wednesday, but maybe what I'm gonna do is I will put it on a Monday. Or should I put it on a Sunday? See, now I'm already going off track. I'm gonna put it on a Sunday. I'm gonna add in here to start Gomphrena just as like a weekly reminder that at some point during this week, I need to start my Gomphrena, and then I'm going to add a second entry to sow cool crops outdoors. I find that if I have separate entries for different groupings, I won't forget one a lot easier than like putting all in one entry. So now I have that in my calendar and I'll go right back to the spreadsheet just to make sure I start all 9 of my Gomphrena varieties. So that's my general schedule. So 10 weeks before, early March. Most of the 6 to 8 weeks will be like mid-March to late March, early April. And then I get things started outside. Now there's some other things that I do throughout this kind of spring season that I'll take you along with me as well. For example, I'll bring my bags of dahlias, my grow bags of dahlias that are in the garage indoors early April to give them a head start. I might do that with some hydrangeas. Tulip bulbs I'll need to pull up earlier than that, but as far as seed starting, that's kind of my general schedule. Now, let's talk about my rules that I've created for myself as far as what I do and don't start from seed. So I'm trying to work on this rhyme to make it sound a little catchier, but for me, if I'm growing more than 3, I start from seed. I like that part of the rhyme. 3 or less, don't distress, don't use stress, try to work on that part. But basically, if I'm going 3 or fewer varieties of a plant, then I do not start them from seed. I will just go to a garden center and purchase them because for me, I feel like that's a good cutoff. If I buy a packet of 50 seeds and I'm only growing like 1 in my garden, if I only have space for 1, I'm gonna go through those seeds so slowly and the germination rate's gonna continue to decrease. So for me, it makes sense. Well, and the time that you put into starting and caring for your seeds, all of that together, I would rather just go and buy a transplant from a garden center for $5 or $6 and plop it in my garden. So that's why you don't see a lot of warm season vegetables on this list because, things like radishes, I'm sowing a ton. Things like lettuce, I'm usually sowing a ton. When it comes to tomato plants, I have space for 1, 2, maybe 3 if I squeeze. I grow 1 zucchini plant. I'll grow 1 bell pepper plant. I'll grow 1 eggplant, but I'm growing 1 of each of those plants, and I don't care about the variety. If I care a lot about a variety, let's say I wanted a specific, there was a chocolate candy cane pepper. Let's say that I really like that variety, but I didn't necessarily know that it was going to be in a garden center. It's been hard to find. Then I will order seeds for that. That really happens more with flowers than it does with vegetables for me. I just don't really care as much. Other things that I will get from a garden center, mostly perennials. Now I did sow some native perennial seeds in one of these beds, but starting from seed takes a lot longer. So if I want a plant that's ready to go, I'll just get it from a garden center. Same thing with like my raspberry bushes I got from a garden center. My apple trees I ordered. I'm not waiting around to start any of those from seed. So if it's something that I want, the X number of years of growth ahead of time before I get it in my garden, those I will also purchase at a garden center. But that's kind of, again, my rules that I've just found work the best for me. If you have a large garden, you might not be growing anything in like 1 or 2 or 3 sets. You might be growing 5 or more of every single thing. And I think that makes more sense to start from seed. But for me, if it's just a few, I really don't see the need to kind of put all that extra work into starting seeds. I would rather just go ahead and buy them from the store. So that's my schedule. And again, I have a few weeks before I really get started, but I will definitely take you along on the journey with me. It's been, I feel like, a mixture of a slow, long winter, but also now things are starting to pick up. Like January, it seemed like lasts for 5 years. February, it seems like it's only been a minute, but somehow we're already a few days into it. So that's how it works when I start getting into gardening. Also, I'm in a little new section of my office right here. We painted these walls pink. Well, we had someone paint the walls pink last summer. I just got this chaise lounge, which is not 100% put together completely correctly, but it doesn't break when I sit on it. And then I put up some of the art here that I've gotten from the antique stores. Then I have a pothos growing here, but I'm also kind of working on putting this room together as well. So anyway, that's gonna be everything for today's video. Let me know about your seed starting schedule if you are starting anything in February, and if so, what that's gonna be. I'll also link down below my February task video in case there are some things that you're looking to do this month, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.